Hello, we are live. I am Rachel, and this is Nici. I don't know which side it's on because I know that it mirrors. Yeah, that is it. That's that. Okay. Nici is somewhere in the vicinity. Hello and welcome. This afternoon, this evening, we are really excited to be talking to you about 12 Days of Yule. And a candle connection and reflection over the 12 principles of Yule, which Nici has been doing for the last couple of years, which I felt would be a nice thing for us to share. Hey, Jackie, for us to share and go through with everyone. So this afternoon, evening, depending where you are, I think Jackie, it's probably still morning. We will be having a chat about the 12 days. We'll be having a chat about Mother's Night, and we'll be having a chat about the ways that you can make the next 12 days and what we're suggesting reflect you and your energy. So not something which Nici or I would do. We'll obviously give you loads of suggestions, but something that's really going to reflect and work with your energy, because the way that things work the best is by working the way that you work, not the way that anyone else works. So, you know, look to others for inspiration, not for a rule. Isn't that right, Nici?
So true. Yeah, completely. And it's funny, I was talking to Pete about it before I came up to the office, because I was like, you know, the first year that I did this, so I think I've been involved in like the Yule winter solstice celebrations for many years, but actually developing a practice around the Yule tide, the 12 days, has been sort of since 2016. So the first time I did it, I was like, you know, I've got to do it every evening. It's got to be like this. And obviously it's like 5 days till Christmas. So like, you know, in the real world, it can be quite hard when you've got 4 children, 6 children sometimes, to actually do this thing. And I then felt shit about myself because I hadn't done every single one of them. And, you know, and then I was like beating myself up over something that I had decided to voluntarily like use to make myself feel better instead. Like that's, you know, I'm pretty good at that one. So yeah, it's definitely, you know, we were talking about some different ways in which sometimes these virtues can come up, even if you don't sit and light a candle and, you know, sit and meditate on it, or, you know, if you don't have time for that kind of shit, you know, the shit that I love, and I know you love, Rach, you know, we love a good candle. You know, it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It doesn't mean like that you're not, you know, enveloping yourself in Yuletide. It's, you know, we don't live 500 years ago. We live in the shitty world of 2020 right now. So it's a thing.
It's particularly spectacular world this year, isn't it? Yeah, right. And I think this has come up at a really good time. What's really interesting is for anyone who lives in Britain, you'll know that Boris Johnson made a really lovely announcement last night. Everyone's plans for Christmas. So most of London have evacuated themselves.
Yeah.
And everything's just gone a little bit haywire. So actually taking some time at the moment just to chill out, just to get away from the news, the thread, all of that stuff, and just recenter, or even thinking, oh my God, like I was going to see mum, or I was going to see my sister, or whoever it was that you were going to see, and thinking, actually, I just need a little bit of time out at the moment to chill out, and to figure my way through without putting pressure on myself. So, you know, if you want to actually use it to go, okay, normally I might only have 5 minutes because I'd be running here, there and everywhere. Actually, I've got a bit more time this year, and I might actually be able to spend an hour a day for the next 12 days, sat in contemplation or thinking or with some quiet space. However that looks for you, then, you know, this is probably the best year to do it in.
It really is. It really is. Like, I keep hearing people say, you know, I know everybody's really busy, but, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm confused. I'm not busy. Like, I'm as busy as I've been all year, which is not busy. However, I do have trousers on, so just proof.
Well done.
I do have trousers on. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, for some of us, Christmas is the busiest time, and for others, it's the quietest time, and it's just about, what I really like about this is it's the way that I use it is to not just reflect, but actually also inspire forward as well for myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So maybe we should tell people what we're actually talking about. That might help.
It would help. It would help. Go on,
Yeah.
Nici.
So what we're talking about is from tonight. So tonight is the 20th of December, for anyone who doesn't know what fucking day it is. It's the 20th of December today. So that is the start of Yuletide, as I view it and as I practice it. There are lots of different thoughts around how long Yuletide is. There's some heathen books and Viking books that suggest that Yuletide was actually 2 or 3 days long. There's others that say it was 12 days. What we know is that it was a time of celebration around the winter solstice, which is tomorrow. So for the practice that I've got, it's quite closely linked to the Asratu principles. And basically it's 12 days of looking at these principles or these virtues and seeing where you're at with it, seeing kind of how you feel that has reflected in the year for you, and how you want to inspire more of that forward, or that it didn't go too well, and how you're going to bring more of that into your life next year. Because for me, tomorrow is like a new year. It's the end of the wheel. It's the end of the kind of changing seasons, and we're moving then into the return of the light tomorrow, the return of the sun, and into a new wheel, into a new season. So I also celebrate New Year's because I live in 2020, and my kids really like seeing the fireworks, and we like having role play parties occasionally when we're allowed to see each other, don't we, Rach?
Yes.
That was a fun night.
That was a really good evening.
But yeah, for me, tomorrow is kind of like a new year, and it's about then kind of making sure that I've gained everything that I want to out of this year to take forward, looked at anything that didn't work well this year to take the wisdom from it and throw the rest away, and then move into the new year with renewed renewed vigor.
Vigor? You like that?
Vigor.
Yeah, you know where my guides are at with those sorts of words. I think you picked up on a really salient point, which is about the whole time thing and when are we supposed to do it and when we're not. I think if you pick this video up in a few days or even in a couple of weeks' time and you still want to do it, you're going to be in the right energy to do this for the next 12 days. So even if you pick this up late, what's important is that it's happened at the right time for you. And it's happening at this point in the season. You're still going to be able to take advantage of the energies that are going on, because I'm sure that when we were celebrating this like hundreds of thousands of years ago, like we probably weren't so precise about days and dates, and it was when the sun was like this, and it would have just been a more general coming together. So if you pick this up late, this is exactly where it needs to be for you. So still go with it. Don't be put off.
Yeah, completely. So so as we were saying, the 20th is today. That is Mother's Night. It's probably my favorite. Tonight and tomorrow is probably my favorite part of Yuletide, because today, for example, it's the day to kind of honor ancestral mothers, and female guardians of your home, of your faith, and that goes across faiths. So you know, it might be Mother Mary that you think of this evening, or Magdalene. It might be, you know, a different goddess. Bridget, for example, is very associated with mothers and all of that kind of thing as well. But for me, I don't really move too much into the goddess side of things, and I bring it back home to what's relevant to me 100%. So I'm thinking about my grandparents, my grandmothers, my own mother, aunts, my sister, because she's been a huge you know, female guardian in my life. You know, all of those kinds of people, I think about them. I like to clean my house and spruce it up as if my nan was coming. You know, it's my nan's been passed for a long time, but you know, there's that. I don't really spruce my house up when my mum comes. So, like, I think about my older grandparents. You know, my older relatives that you would want to make sure that they felt that you were doing a good job of, you know, looking after your house and home and children and things. So I've had a spruce up, and I spruced up the garden, and I've done all of the sort of cleaning things that I would need to do for tomorrow's winter solstice. I've done today, because it's the prep work. Us women as caregivers so often are the people who do all the prep work. So you know, it's not. So instead of seeing that as a kind of patriarchal thing, we're instead owning it as a, you know, beautiful thing that we get to do. I've also got a really lovely casserole that's been on the hob for about 3 hours now, which is going to be absolutely beautiful. But again, I'm cooking something that reminds me of my grandparents and my grandmothers, in particular, someone who's not actually my grandmother, but my cousin's grandmother, Nanny Newman, who lived in Titchfield, and every Titchfield carnival we would go to her house, her little sort of bungalow, and she would cook up a stew, and it was old style stew, everything was in it. I was vegetarian, but my mum would whisper to me, because I'd be like picking at meat in my casserole, and she'd be like, just eat around the meat. You know, because, and I did. I didn't feel great about it at the time as a child, but like looking back, I can see why that's important. You know, this wonderful grandmother has provided, you know, a big, huge pot of stew for all of the family members that are coming in from the carnival. You know, so of course it's bulked out with all kinds of, you know, stuff that was normal to eat, you know, that we don't tend to eat anymore. And so, yeah, I picked around that meat, and then I just kind of gave my mum the meat, you know, and thanked her for her hospitality and her love and for providing for us. So, yeah, making my casserole, I was laughing as I was, you know, remembering her and her stew that I thought was horrendous, you know, because it's not just about thinking about them and how wonderful they were. It's the funny stories, it's the you know, the beautiful things. And I decided to put some makeup on to come and do the live. I don't tend to wear makeup much this year. Don't know about anybody else, but I was putting it on, and I heard my nan go, "Oh, you're so pretty, you don't need that slap." Like, thanks, nan. What have you got that slap on for?
Yeah, it was the sort of thing my nan probably would have said. She was a bit of powder in the nose type of a lady. That was it. You know, very ladylike. And far, not too tarty either, which would have been another concern for her, was the tartiness. You know, it's really interesting, and what I really liked about what you said was about kind of re-owning the preparation and the caregiving and all of that stuff. And I think that's a really important way to do it, is that things shouldn't feel like they're an onus or a burden. They should feel joyous and happy and amazing. And that's how you re-own it. You realize that actually I am the center of everything that is going on. I am the person who's organized all of this. Without this, you know, this all wouldn't be happening. So I'm going to re-own this, and I'm going to make this evening or this meal or whatever it is, rather than feeling like I'm the slave and nobody can see me, I'm going to be the one stood in the center of everything, making everybody else joyous.
Yes, exactly, because without those ancestral mothers, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know, those mothers who were at the center of the home. And yes, we live in a society where families are not necessarily in that way anymore, where the mum is at home, the dad is at work, and you know, a lot of families share responsibilities, and I think that's wonderful. And we're a family that do that ourselves, but at the same time, the mother caring role is to guide and guardian and safeguard you know, the next generation. And
Absolutely.
you know, it always takes me back to that knowledge that when your mum was in your nan's womb, you were inside your mum already as an egg. Like, there's 3 generations there already connected. And then when you go back, you know, thinking about how your mum was that egg, your nan was that egg, you know, there's this beautiful, really wonderful matriarchal you know, line of protecting the next generation. And so often we women do that with food and with warmth and with cuddles and reading books, and you know, all of the wonderful things that so often mums kind of get really stressed about. So even if it's just for one night, that we kind of own that and go, no, I'm what makes this all happen. And then we can go back tomorrow to being annoyed that nobody picks up after themselves, and things like that tomorrow.
Yeah, it's what I think I'll be doing myself over this period is journaling. I know that you use journaling a lot. I don't tend to use it on a regular basis, but when I'm doing something like this, then absolutely I'll sit down and journal, because I'll get out stuff and be able to look at it with perspective when it's on the page and understand it in a whole different way. And I think probably for some people today, thinking about mothers may well bring up some ancestral issues or some mindset issues or some childhood issues that they're currently working through.
Yeah, completely. I know when I first started, I recently looked back on some of my journals from doing Yuletide, and like, I had quite an angry vibe related to Mother's Night and stuff when I originally first started doing this, and that's completely changed over the last 4 years to a place of recognizing that every single mother is always doing their best, you know, at all times. It might not be the best in terms of what we view being the best as, and you know, sometimes the best is making sure that none of that all of your kids are safe, and you know, that's also the best thing you can do. You know, so when I look back on sort of, you know, how maybe my nan would talk, or sometimes my mum, or you know, my gran, and I think, oh, you know, you shouldn't say that, or that's not a fun thing, or you know, that's not how you should treat kids. You know, every single parent, every single generation is doing the best that they can with what they've got, what received previously, and being able to move forward with that knowledge. So yeah, it feels much more celebratory this year for me, Mother's Night. But it's been a process of journaling through that for the last few years.
No, that makes complete sense. So you know, this today might bring up emotional stuff for you. You know, and that's okay. Like, if you're in a place where you go like, actually fuck all of my heritage, like, that's okay. Write about fuck your heritage, get all of that anger out. You know, we spend so long penting things up and penting up emotions, and you can use this throughout your 12 days is the fact that actually, you know, address that dark stuff. This is the time to do it. Like, you know, I haven't switched my light on yet, it's bloody dark. This is the time to address the dark stuff, and the candle within that is your light, is shining your light on that dark stuff, so you can see it with a different perspective. And until you get that anger out of you, it's just gonna, oh, I love it. That's so pretty.
Pretty.
Pretty. It's just going to kind of sit inside you and fester, and that's the last thing that you want. You know, we're told not to look at anger. We're told not to address anger. We're told anger is a bad emotion, and actually it only is bad if it's not, if it's stored up and it's not spoken about, and we don't sort issues out. So, you know, this really is a good time to be writing the stuff which even you hate admitting to yourself.
Yeah.
Get it out of you, get it on a piece of paper. And if you want to burn that piece of paper at some point over the next 12 days, bloody burn that piece of paper. You know, it's this is journaling for me is a really cathartic process, about ridding yourself of stuff, as well as inspiring. I've got books and books of meditation stuff where I've written things, and it's, you know, that I've kept is all inspiring. What I haven't kept is the stuff that I'm like, no, that's healed and I've moved away from that. It's, you know, as you said, Nici, about what am I going to take forward? You know, what are the things out of this that I'm going to take forward? And that's, you know, it's a really important part of this process.
It's massively important. And you know, it doesn't mean that you are going to be needing to do big work, big, you know, healing work on yourself. It might come up, but you know, generally this is a time of reflection, so that you can take forward the wisdom, chuck the rest in the fuck it bucket, decide what you're moving into the next season with. I really love Rebecca Campbell. In one of her books, she talks about, you know, build a life's work, not a season. And I absolutely love that. And that's something that I wrote down today when I was thinking about Mother's Night and things. Because again, you know, when we're constantly just on each season, we're stressing ourselves out. We're not pulling any of the really good stuff out and letting go of anything else. And we're seeing things as too finite, as if, you know, everything's got to be done now. Otherwise, you know, and we forget that we've got an entire life. We don't know how long that life is. So actually, don't carry that through to the next season. You know, just take what works, what feels good, scribble that shit down and crumple it up or throw it in the fire or whatever it is that you need to do, so that you feel like you can move into the next steps.
Something that I'll probably be doing today, and you know, you might find it coming up over the next 12 days, is just to be sat knowing that your loved ones are around you. And today's going to be a day when you're going to absolutely be able to do that, sit in peace, absolutely knowing that, you know, like my nan has been hanging around for the last week or so. So it's really interesting how they will come up, like, and you know, my mum's mum wasn't a great hospitality queen. The family tended to do everything around her. My dad's mum, however, she was like, you know, proper, everything was out. It was proper English teas with jellies and like tinned new potatoes and
new potatoes.
Yeah, like 10 new potatoes and all jacket potatoes, you know, lots of salad with cucumber with the skin cut off for some reason, all of that stuff. So that's the sort of stuff that I remember about my nan in Ireland. When I think about her, it was probably every Friday and Saturday night down the pub, right up until probably maybe a year or two before she passed. That's, you know, and she was 96 when she passed. So, you know, that was her down the pub, you know, a brandy at the weekend, a Guinness during the week, all the way through all of her pregnancies. I think that's the only nutrition she had at certain points because they were poor. So it's things like that where I know that this evening I'll be able to sit there and probably even tell the kids and share stories with the children about them. That for me is probably going to be how I recognize it. Dylan's been asking a lot about my dad's mum this week, about what year she was born and what she would have lived through, which is really interesting. So he's obviously picking up on her being constantly around. So, you know, I'm going to sit down tonight and go through all of that and look at the dates and talk to him about what life was like for her during the war, because she told me about that. And, you know, for me, this evening is going to be part of that reflection, is going to be family based with the kids and talking.
Yeah, completely. It's funny, I shared a post on Instagram a little bit while before this, and I said, you know, this is about remembering your female caregivers, your mothers, your grandmothers, and, you know, sharing that with your children, sharing pictures if you have pictures, you know, all of those kinds of things. And for me, sometimes I'll just look at pictures on my phone. I've got, you know, lots of pictures of grandparents and things on my phone, and other times I'll feel like I need to print them out and I need to frame them, and they need to be with my Yule candle, like almost like a bit of a shrine. And it does remind me of Samhain quite a lot, in terms of sort of, you know, bringing those ancestors close, but it's about the female ancestors, which I'm all for.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's tonight, and then tomorrow we have winter solstice.
Yay!
Which I cannot wait for. So I've prepared my fire pit today. It was real mucky, and cleaned all of that out, and that's all drying. I've moved it all under the shelter because I know that it's going to be quite rainy tomorrow. Hi Ruby. Yeah, so it's all moved under the shelter, and we'll do our Yule log, lighting our Yule log under the shelter. But yeah, so tomorrow is all about that kind of longest night, shortest day, and recognizing that, you know, I've just been told something about it's always darkest before the dawn. And that really is kind of all about that winter solstice, you know, that longest night where many years ago we didn't know if the sun was coming back again because it had been dark for so long. So when it did return and it rose again in the sky, it was like, oh my God, like, you know, this is a miracle, this is amazing. Our gods have been so wonderful to us to let us have the sun back, and we can feel very much like that at this time of year. So being able to,
this year in particular,
it's massive. So, you know, thinking about that journey back to the light, you know, and we're not just talking literally the sun and the moon and the dark. We're talking about, you know, your shadow self, your difficulties, what you're struggling with at this time of year. Those are the kinds of things that I journal on winter solstice. I really get everything out that I have felt I haven't been good enough about. And, you know, for me, a lot of that will be around closing my business down this year and, you know, feeling like a failure with that. And I know that I'm not, but there's still that part of me that thinks that is, and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I need to get all of that out. It needs to get that down on paper and out of me. I need to pour it out of me so that when that light returns, when I go back into a space of hope and looking forward to you know, years into the future and things, that I'm not still carrying that with me. Unburden yourself.
I really like that. I'll be going back and visiting some stuff I did with the kids in the summer solstice. So we've got basically things that we really felt good about ourselves, achievements that we'd made, and I'm going to get them to look at those again to kind of remind them of their achievements, and the husband as well, because he's a bit rubbish at that, and to look and see what else we've, you know, in the same vein as what Nici's just said, what's gone wrong and what's gone right for the last 6 months. And I think that that's like a really important exercise also to remind us of the whole year, because we lose a lot of that stuff that we probably felt in the summer, a lot of that summer energy which was there and we were feeling good about. It can really go. So I'm going to be getting those out. Those are all folded up in an envelope behind my goddess on my shelf. So we'll be getting those out and we'll be looking at those tomorrow, which will be good. Then it'll be a family thing probably tomorrow. Well, I'll probably do it again with the family tomorrow, the reflection. So
I tend to do this separately to the stuff that I do with the family. I tried to do it the other way to start with, and I realized that what I was ending up doing was getting no time to myself to be able to actually really feel into this for myself. And that actually I had to get to a place of recognizing that I deserve, especially around Christmas, I deserve to have a time each day where I can go, all of you need to fuck off and leave me alone. I've lit my candle. You know what that means. This is mama time.
And it's not just because you need the loo. It's genuinely just, I just want some space to myself. Thank you. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is really beautiful to do Yuletide stuff with your children. And I hugely recommend that we all do that. But also, if you can, like, find a place where you recognize that you deserve to have, even if it's 10 minutes each day to practice this to yourself, in several days that might feel really chaotic for you. It's going to make all the difference in you being able to come back into your family and enfold them with more patience and love and joy and celebration. So yeah, one of the things we do tomorrow is we will wrap our Yule log, and we will, so when I say wrap our Yule log, we wrap it in furs and other greenery that we've collected on walks, and some of our oranges and things like that. And what we'll also be doing is I'll be asking the children what they are grateful for this year, and their wish for next year. That will then be popped into the Yule log as well.
Nice.
So the Yule log is not only infused with their excitement of wrapping it and you know, making it all look pretty and stuff, but with their gratitude, their aspirations for next year, and joy, because once that's lit, we then have hot chocolate and marshmallows. So that works. So yeah, tomorrow is a big day. You know, as a parent, I do not stay up all the way through the longest night and see the sunrise again. But something I do is tomorrow morning I will wake up early, and I will usually, there's a little seat outside my back door, and I'll usually wrap up with some blankets and beanie hat and things with a hot drink just before sunrise, and I'll sit out here and I'll listen for the first bird. And that's a really big thing for me, is because you hear bird song before the sun rises. So recognizing the bird song, it kind of feels like it connects me back into like a past life, I don't know, where I was, you know, desperately waiting to hear bird song to know that everything was okay again. And then the sun came after. So it feels really magical to be able to do that each year. I did it in Scotland last year, which was a dream come true. Everybody else was still asleep. I was up at 5, even though the sun where we were didn't rise till 9. Yeah, it was such short days. But yeah, it's a really beautiful thing that I get to do tomorrow. And then I'll be, like I said, some personal journaling on, you know, stuff to do with what I want to make sure that I don't carry through. You know, that dark and that light needs balance. So, you know, at this unbalanced time, it's important to get all of that darker stuff out, so that as we go into more balance, we can not lose our minds.
Really? We can remain balanced, which is always a good thing. It's always a good thing.
Very.
And then as we move forward, there's some really nice themes as we go forward. And we'll obviously have a quick look through these. But what I think for anyone watching this, it's important to know is there's going to be some stuff initially where you go, oh, that, and that around each of these themes. Some of them you might look at and go, okay, I don't know what that means to me. I don't know how that's going to affect me. I don't know what's going to come out of that. And both of those things are fine. because you know some of the stuff which you don't know is probably some of the stuff that's more hidden and needs the light shone on it. And some of the stuff that you're going to look at and know exactly what it is, oh my god, that's ready to get releasing, that's like screaming to be released. So there's some really nice themes that are coming up, isn't there, Nici?
Yeah, so these are pretty close to the Asratu kind of virtues. So for me, I like to light my candle. So for these ones, these are all more about that inner look and that inner moment to spend time with yourself and have a look at these. So with each one, I like to look at how this has shown up in my life for the previous year, whether I have shown this virtue myself in the year, and whether I want to, how I want it to show up next year. So I will often journal around that. So for example, you know, the 22nd for courage, you know, what does courage mean to me in the first place? What does that word actually mean? And I don't think it would be wise for us to give you guys what we think these things mean. Because they'll mean different things to different people, you know. Some people might remember a year ago I was talking about sacrifice an awful lot, and a lot of people really struggled with my idea of what sacrifice is, or surrender, you know, and actually I find those two things really beautiful, but we have a negative connotation of them.
And I think what you just said is really important. Like, what does that word mean to you, and how do you feel about what that word means? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, completely. Jackie, thank you for talking about deserving release. Yes. We do have to get to a place of recognizing that we do deserve it, and that can be a struggle for us, but once you get there, it's then a practice of making sure you stay there, because it's really easy to slip back in. But yeah, so you know, what does courage mean to me? How has courage shown up in my life in the last year, since last solstice? Winter solstice, I mean, and how have I shown courage, you know, in this year? Emotional. Yeah, really emotional. How have I shown courage in the last year, and how can I use courage moving into the next year? And that's kind of the practice that I do with myself. Is, you know, what does this mean to me? How has it shown up? How have I shown it? How can I either show more of it or less of it? Or, you know, how can it show up for me in the next year?
And another interesting reflection would be, if I don't like this word and I don't want it to be associated with me, do I need to change my definition of it? Do I need to view this word in a different way? Actually, why do I think it's negative? What, you know, it might be that actually you're not even in a place to look at where it was with you for the last year, because actually what you need to do is to look at your relationship with that word, with that virtue.
Oh yeah, hospitality is always a big one for me.
I know, right? It's I think for me it very much links into what we're talking about on Mother's Night, which is it a burden or is it something I enjoy doing? And how do I reclaim that and re-own that? So yeah, absolutely. That's I agree with that as well. And even something like loyalty, you know, where is that positive and where is that negative in my personal life? It's going to be a really interesting journey.
Yeah, so like with loyalty, for example, immediately I'm already like popping up things, you know, ping, ping, ping. You know, where is loyalty ever detrimental, you know, to me? Can I be loyal to a fault? And if so, do I need better boundaries around my loyalty? You know, because we can be loyal and still maintain, you know, good boundaries for ourselves around those that we're loyal to. You know, so that's like, there's so much you can do with this, and you can choose to just kind of go, you know, honor. I don't really know what that means to me, but like I feel like it's shown up in this way, and I feel like I can honor myself better next year. Like it can be as simple as that, or it can be, you know, 15 pages of journaling and channeling, you know, that your higher self wants you to know.
And another way that you could really work with this would be if you're into healing, not just, you know, meditating around the word, repeating the word in your head and see where it takes you. And also, you know, you can use that technique when you're healing. So if you're doing Reiki or anything like that, calling the energy in and then just repeating that word, seeing what emotionally comes up for you, what memories are you given, you know, where in your body are you feeling it as you release it, or what are you drawn to with your own healing abilities and your healing skills when you're thinking about that, you know, and why would you be holding it there? Exploring why you're holding it there, and you may not even come away from it with any real conscious understanding as you're doing the healing. It may be that over the next few weeks or couple of months that you start to notice, oh, okay, I feel differently about this now, I feel differently about that now. Even sometimes a few days later when things are sunk in, you kind of go, oh, okay, that makes more sense to me. But, you know, you can work around these words in whichever way you want to. So if you're not somebody who writes, then sit down and heal. But be conscious, be aware with that healing. You know, you might have a pen and paper next to you and write down, oh, that was my sacral. Why do I think it was in my, why am I holding that in my sacral? That's a good question. You know, all of those sorts of the questions that you want to ask yourself when you're doing your healing, to really give it an extra layer of depth.
Yes, I really love that. Something that Pete and I were talking about earlier was about how sometimes just knowing what the word of the day is, you know, what the virtue of the day is, will allow you to see things that show up for you related to that. So we were talking about how, you know, you might be watching a Christmas movie, and actually so many Christmas movies are based around so many of these virtues on this piece of paper, that you know, there's parts of films where I hold my hand to my heart and I'm like, I'm thinking of Love Actually straight away when she realizes that the necklace is not for her. And I'm like, oh my God, loyalty. Like, that hits me right in my heart, that's so disloyal. And, you know, all of this stuff comes up around.
That's really interesting, because I can feel that down actually in my navel sacral area. So yeah. Really, really interesting. Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes it might not even be, if you don't have the time or you don't have the inclination to want to kind of practice this in a very ritualistic way, it could be that you kind of look at the piece of paper and go, oh, it's honor today, or oh, it's loyalty today. I wonder how that will show up in you know, the proceeds of the day.
Yeah.
And just look for it.
Absolutely, because the universe will listen to you and speak to you in whichever language you need. So, you know, if that's filtering things in during the day, for you to just go, oh, okay, I need to make a mental note about that. Oh, that's how I feel about that, is it? You know, that's how the universe will work with you, because, you know, it's beautiful in that way.
Yeah, it really is. So yeah, you know, there's kind of 12 of them, but there's 10 of the actual virtues, and then there's Mother's Night, and there's solstice. And like Rach wrote a lovely checklist, didn't you, Rach? So if you're wanting to kind of practice along in a way that I've been doing it for the last few years, I up until now had been using kind of a long burning candle, and then I would throw it away afterwards to kind of signify that I've moved into the next space now. But this year I showed you guys a second ago, but I'll show you again. This year I bought this really beautiful porcelain candle lamp kind of thing, and it's got a snowy scene on it and all of that kind of thing. And I'm actually just using tea lights for this, so I might use 12 tea lights. I haven't decided yet, but I feel like the actual the lamp itself will build the energy of Yuletide as it gets used each day, and then it will be packed away with the Christmas stuff and come out again next year, which I really love. But you can also get like, you know, big church pillar candles, and maybe
I had this one which actually I lit on Thursday night for group. So I've really which we did Yule on Thursday evening. So it felt right to light it then, and I didn't realise then that this would be my candle, and I was like, that's obviously my candle. So I will be dressing this before I light this again, because I didn't dress it on Thursday. So I'll be dressing this with some oils, because that's how I like to work, and that will be then I'm going to use that for the next 12 days. And I will likely, oh God, will I throw it away afterwards? That the thought of throwing out not a completely used candle terrifies me. So I need to think about that. And I will see at the end of the 12 days whether or not I can bear to throw something out that still has use to it. So that's that, I know, right? And that I'm going to blame my nan for. My dad's mum, I'm going to entirely blame her for. So that is an interesting thought for this evening.
It is. That is very interesting. So like really simple things. If you're doing the candle stuff, you're going to need either a candle or a collection of candles, a space to have those candles. I like a notebook, a journal. I like to start new journals all the time for different things, and then I end up going, where's a notepad or you know, a notebook, and grab whatever is closest, and then I end up with mixing all of my notes up. But like it's really beautiful starting a new one. I love that. It's new book smell.
My stationery.
Yeah, any excuse for stationery. You know, I like to have a blanket. I've got a blanket and things up in my office. This is where my altar is as well, for winter, for solstice. Over there, you can't see it. And you know, make yourself really comfy. If you're gonna do this as a thing that you feel, you know, I'm deserving of having this space to myself each day for the next 12 days, then, you know, set yourself up a really comfy space, you know, with blanket, cushions, hot chocolate each time, because it's time to sit with your journal. You know, create a habit and a ritual around it that feels good for you. I love doing that, because then I can, you know, it sets clear boundaries in my household as well, that, you know, it's time for me to go do this now. So I try to keep it to around the same time each day as well, which is once the kids have gone to bed. Obviously we do stuff during the day with the kids, over Yuletide and books and all of those kinds of. If you haven't seen the Yule book live, you need to go watch that. So yeah, it's all on the amazing checklist and print off that Rachael has provided. I've run out of things to say.
I think that's it. If you still haven't got the checklist, I'll pop a link up in the comments. I couldn't think of the word, and actually Spirit had to give it to me. I'll put, obviously not grounded today at all. Bear in mind, I've been out for a walk today. I'm clearly not grounded. So I will pop up a link in the comments, so you can click on that and fill it in. If you can't be bothered and you just want to inbox me your email, you're really welcome to do that as well. Like, that will work. So, you know, it's, if you still haven't got the handouts, let me know. Even if you're watching this on catch up in the week and you want it, tell me, because, you know, that will be the right time for you. And it may have been that something needed to happen between us doing this live now and in a couple of weeks time for you to reflect on that you actually needed to take forward. So absolutely.
The only other thing I was going to say is I think Rach and I are both doing sort of prompts or reminders of what day it is on our respective pages. So my page is Nici Rambles, and Rachel's page is what you're watching this on. So I'm still undecided, because I usually do really personal journaling around this time, and sort of I was thinking, you know, Rach and I were talking about doing a blog each day and sharing that and things, and then I was like, I don't know how.
Maybe just some tidbits from you share.
Yeah. So I'll definitely be sharing something every day related to each of the things. I've already shared today's Mother's Night one, and we'll see what happens with the other ones. It'll be interesting as to whether or not I go, oh, I'm not sharing actually, or whether I do. But yeah, I'll be sharing something every day over the 12 days that is coming up for me. And I think you're doing the same, aren't you, Rach?
Yeah, I will do. I'll probably be doing a blog and maybe like a screenshotty type thing with just the word, just to get people to think about it. And I'll try and do that in the morning. So if I can use my scheduler, okay, that will work. So yeah, and I think tomorrow morning, if people do want to get up for solstices, it is at something like 5 minutes past 8. Yes. So, you know, it won't be too unreasonable to get up before then, to sit by yourself if you want to. We're going to be doing candle wishes in the morning as the sun comes up. So, which the kids are excited about.
My kids won't be up. So,
yeah, see, Dylan's as clockwork, 6 a.m. Generally, he's quite quiet. Unless he decides he wants to cuddle the baby, in which case he wakes her up, and then it's all far too loud. But he generally is quite quiet, and he I think part of the reason why he gets up at that time is for him to have his own quiet space in the house without anybody else around. So yeah, 8 a.m. I think it's 8:05 or 8:06 or something like that tomorrow morning in the UK.
Funny. It's really funny because we were doing sunset and sunrise times for home ed this week, and I can't remember what it is, even though we did it like literally days ago, for all across this period. But yeah, so it's around 8. I tend to be about 15 minutes before sunrise, so it'll be fun. Yeah, it'll be fun. But no, my kids, you know, quite often two out of the 4 are up by afternoon.
They are of that age where the teenage mind needs its sleep.
It does. And the other 2 are sort of up between 7 and 8. Lucas is the one who's always up, sort of on time for him.
Yeah.
But that's got gradually later as he's been a home educator. It used to be like 5:30 in the morning. Now it's about 7:30. So
I think he's up at 5:30. He's just not allowed out of his bedroom until 6. Like, don't make noise in the house too early. Mummy will be.
Yeah, we have to do the same. Yeah, so looking forward to sharing Yuletide.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you're watching catch up, or I'll be sharing this to YouTube as well, just pop any questions you've got in the comments, or any comments you've got in the comments. You know, if you want to share anything, comments in the comments. How weird is that, right? I'm so not grounded. And just, you know, if you even want to use the comment section as somewhere to kind of do a bit of journaling, then do that. You know, that's a really okay thing to do. And when I get my blog out, as Nici does her bits and pieces, and you want to do it within those as well, absolutely feel free to. Feel free to use those prompts as you need to. So we are going to go. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful Mother's Night. Have a wonderful Yule winter solstice tomorrow. Enjoy the next 12 days. No matter what they bring, because I'm sure it isn't anything like you planned, and just roll with it. It will all be fine. There's this the Irish always say it'll be grand, and it basically means fuck it, it's fine. So you know, it will all be grand. It will all be grand, and we'll all be happy. So enjoy your next 12 days, and we will catch up soon.
Yes, thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Nici. Bye.